Welcome to Canadian Innovators, the show that celebrates innovation, entrepreneurs, and the Canadian spirit. I'm Ves Sobot, sitting in for Jocelyn Bamford. Every week, we introduce an entrepreneur, tell their story, and unpack the challenges of doing business and explore ideas for job growth and prosperity. This week, we have a great Canadian who is a serial entrepreneur who has made an impact in a number of fields, including events promotion, financing, and real estate, and has worked not only in Canada, but globally. He's even run federally in an election. Ned Kurus is founder of Neku Investments, Inc., based in Stoney Creek, Ontario. Ned, thank you so much for joining us in studio today.
Thanks, Ves. Appreciate it.
Ned, you have quite a resume. You've run successful restaurants, owned hundreds of ATM machines, owned lots of residential and commercial real estate. You've put on massive combat sports events. In Thailand, Azerbaijan, and in China, and even Serbia, I understand.
Yeah.
How did you get your start? How did you get into all these businesses?
I think, Ves, well, thank you for having me here today, first of all. I think it started at an early age. I knew very, very quickly that I started working at around the age of 12, very early. And early on, I identified that I was working and doing the best I could, but I was also looking at the person I was working for and how are they making money? What were the moving parts of the business? So that definitely turned on very, very early in my life. And in high school, we didn't talk about finance and those things too much. But when we did, I was very hyper, involved in whatever that curriculum was. So I kind of knew by the age of 18, I wanted to work for myself.
Oh, very good. And what was the first business you started?
So there's a few, like when you're young, you're trying your hand at everything. Me and a friend sold supplements and this and that. You're a teenager trying to make a couple bucks, but it was all good education. And then I was working for someone in the restaurant in entertainment field. And then an opportunity came up where we were able to take over a restaurant or a pizza parlor that was around since 1973. It closed in 2000. We reopened it in 2003. So that business was the first kind of big business that I was involved in, big at the time, right? And that restaurant business, even though I self-admitted don't really like the industry anymore, it taught me so much because it was 16-hour days for probably about 4 or 5 years. And it taught me the ups and downs of business and all that. And then from then on, things progressed in my life.
What's the second major business you moved into?
So the second major one was real estate. So I started acquiring real estate at a young age, and I was taking my profits from business and parlaying it into real estate when at the time when real estate was fairly affordable, which is not now. And that would probably be in the mid 2000s and on. So that was the second biggest thing. And then I also became a mortgage agent, and that again opened my eyes to a bunch of different stuff and expanded my real estate portfolio through that and speculating real estate. But the other big one was I was involved in the combat sports industry, and I was hired on a company in Asia, and I got to the executive level. So I was in charge of going into new countries and different territories and expanding the brand and putting on stadium events and things like that. And that was a very big education for me.
Now, cultural differences must have been massive.
Yeah.
How did you deal with that? How did you have success without breaking a few cultural norms?
Yeah, so like navigate would probably be the word there. So very quickly, I learned, and what that tenure in that company did, it taught me to be humble, and it taught me to respect other people's cultures. And it taught me that if I want to go into let's take Azerbaijan for an instance, they're politically much different than we are. So when I was able to form some relationships there, I didn't go there with a forceful attitude, and you can't really get away with that in Asia. So you have to be humble, you have to be accommodating, and you have to respect cultures and the way they do things there. And you just have to fit in, and you almost have to get to your goal. You have to be pliable, and you have to understand where they're coming from, and then make a deal that's good for them and you. If you come in forcefully, maybe like some people do in business here, where it's like sales, and pressure, and we got to get this done in numbers, doesn't necessarily work there.
Hold that thought. We'll be right back after the break.